Okay, let's try another one of those. Okay, in this problem, we've got 6x squared y to the 4th, all divided by the square root of 24x to the 3rd y to the 10th. As it is right now, I can't reduce anything because one of them has a square root and the other one doesn't. So the one thing that I know I can do is I can rationalize the denominator because I cannot leave a square root in my final answer. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the denominator to rationalize it. So I'm going to take the top and the bottom both times the square root of 24x to the 3rd y to the 10th. And the reason that it's okay to do this is because this is technically a form of 1. You can multiply any fraction by a form of 1 and it doesn't change it. When I multiply this through, my denominator becomes 24 x to the 5th, y to the 10th. Now my numerator looks kind of complicated. I've got 6x squared y to the 4th times the square root of 24x to the 3rd y to the 10th. So I definitely need to do some simplifying here. 24 can be broken down into square root of 4 times the square root of 6. The square root of 4 is 2, so I'm going to take my 2 times my 6, which is 12, and I still have 6 under the square root sign. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room here because I still have variables to bring through. Okay, next, I've got x to the 3rd power. Well, when I have an odd exponent, I'm going to borrow 1, and I'm going to make that a 2. And since I borrowed 1, I want to make sure that I leave that underneath the square root sign. And now I'm going to take the square root of x squared, which is x. So the square root of x squared is x. And then I'm going to multiply that by the x squared that's on the outside, and that becomes x to the 3rd. And last, I'm going to take the square root of y to the 10th, which is y to the 5th. I'm going to take y to the 5th times y to the 4th, which is y to the 9th. Okay, before you write your final answer,
in the denominator, x to the 3rd. You just
oh,
wrote it wrong.
okay, I just copied this wrong, thank you. This should be a 3. Sorry about that. Okay, before I write down my final answer, I want to make sure that this is simplified all the way. Now, you cannot do anything with this square root 6x because it's under the square root sign, and you don't have anything else under the square root sign. So the only thing that we're trying to simplify is the 12x to the 3rd y to the 9th and 24x to the 3rd y to the 10th. Well, I know that 12 and 24 reduces to 1/2. X to the 3rd and x to the 3rd would cancel. And if I have 9 y's on top and 10 y's on the bottom, all 9 y's would cancel on top, and I would only have 1 left on the bottom. So when I go to write my final answer, I have 1, which is technically imaginary, times the square root of 6x. And in the denominator, I have a 2y to the 1st, which is the same thing as 2y. And that would be my final answer. So when you write your final answer, you want to make sure you don't have any square roots in the denominator, which we don't, and you want to make sure your answer is simplified all the way. And like I said, a common mistake is students want to reduce this to 3/1. And you cannot do that because the square root of 6x is under the radical and 2y is not.